welcome to the special edition on Nile TV International. I'm Lubna Yahya carrying you through it. And of course, we start with the Egyptian presidency. The Egyptian presidency has welcomed on Thursday the U.S. President Donald Trump's and Iranian President Mohammed Saud Pezeshkian's signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between the two countries. It also underscored the profound significance of the step towards de-escalation, sparing the region further cycles of escalation and restoring security and stability in the Middle East. And of course, to shed more light on the significance of signing the Memorandum of Understanding and the efforts exerted to reach such important step, we are joined over the phone by Dr. Yasser Tantawy, the international relations expert. Good evening to you, Dr. Yasser.
Good evening, how are you?
How are you, sir? I'm honored to have you with me on Nile TV International, sir. How does the U.S.-Iran Memorandum of Understanding represent a strategic turning point for the Middle East stability?
Of course, the points itself have been discussed a while ago, and I think they were modifying the updates and the details and the level of details, let's say. So that framework agreement is a core of whatever comes in the next 60 days. Of course, there are lots of effort should be done by all parties engaged, and I think it came a position of being executive currently. I mean, it should be executive starting from tomorrow, once the Iranians will open the Hormuz Strait openly for maritime efforts. So I think now we are in point zero of execution through having the agreement signed, framework signed, and having tomorrow Hormuz Strait to be active. Of course, it took a lot of effort to reach that, and the consequences, I hope it will be fine on the entire global economy.
Yes, Dr. Yasser, Egypt, the Egyptian leadership has worked extensively throughout the entire conflict to bring diplomacy into the table. They always advocated for a dialogue. Egypt sustained the diplomatic engagement as well over recent months, especially to contribute to bringing the gap between Washington and Tehran. And now it's culminating in the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding. How do you see the efforts exerted by the Egyptian leadership across the past months?
I think we can summarize that of what occurred by having the framework agreement signed by President Trump as a planned surprise, you can say that, because there is a lot of Egyptian and French push in the Americans and the Iranians at the same time to have things done. Having the agreement to be signed in Islamabad, as was mentioned before, was not realistic from lots of pillars, let's say. So having that planned surprise in France means there was a lot of effort done by Egypt and France for the U.S. in which not to have any backfire from Israelis and not to give Iran another chance to extend the negotiation. So everything should be coming by surprise to make it as a fact. So they worked on factual issues, which is make things happen at instant without having any further delay, because any further delay will lead to another more details to be agreed, more issues and more stress, of course. So and the event was supposedly to be a perfect let's say location and time to do that, so the G7 would be at least core. In addition to that, we need to understand Europe was trying to reposition themselves in the international politics by having the agreement signed in the gathering of the G4 summit. So technically, as we said, it's a planned surprise, and it was the only chance to have things done in a proper way. So the Egyptian diplomacy worked in that with the French to make that happen, because if you focus on the news in the last few days, there was an indirect manner to discard the Egyptian effort from the entire schema, which could not be ignored. And I think we did it the right way. The push that was done by Egypt and Iran, even directly, that was a huge effort, and that was already expressed by the Iranians several times. On the other side, the relationship with the U.S. gave us a niche of having open discussions, and I think that was very observed, extremely observed by any observer who conducted or even observed the discussion between President Trump and President President Sisi to see how far they are harmonizing things. And I think that soft meeting that gathered him with between President Trump, President Sisi, and President Macron was a little bit a concluding effort of the trilateral agreement to be agreed and to be presented to the authorities. And of course, that will give the best efforts was done to, let's say, terminate, yes, we cannot say minimize, the Israeli confusion and stress that could be applied if Trump is going back or to send his delegates to Pakistan again. Pakistan technically on the other side was looking to have another extension to have more benefits, but I think this is a cornerstone now to be done like that.
Yes, Dr. Yasser, as an international relations expert yourself, you sure know that tomorrow we will be witnessing the signing of the final agreement between the United States and Iran in Switzerland. According to a statement from the Swiss Foreign Ministry, however, no further information is currently available regarding the schedule or the details of the meeting. But we are looking forward to know how the final agreement between the United States and Iran will reflect on the region throughout the upcoming months, weeks, we'd say, especially that the region have been suffering from a lot of conflict in different fronts.
Of course, by tomorrow, regardless of the information that's happening, but President Trump expressed that he might be attending in person the sign of tomorrow. And it was agreed, the initial key point to be agreed is to open Hormuz Strait completely by tomorrow for maritime. So technically, there are lots of updates, and we believe that the next, because this is a framework agreement, it is not a detailed agreement, this is a framework agreement where they are putting the terms of reference for all points to be discussed together, including economic development, restoration of the damages, and so on. So all of that is already in place by mutual understanding. Now they are going to work in details, especially the uranium issue and so on, the next 60 days. So practically that will reduce the entire burden. It might impact the price of gold and US dollar and so on, including the government bonds, of course. So there are lots of, we hope that reviving of the international economy back again to, we cannot say to normal, because it will take a while, but at least to a sufficient level. On the other side, we might suffer, unfortunately, from backdoor, we can say, attacks or criminal action that could be done by Israel or Lebanon to safeguard or to reposition themselves in the deal to be part, because they don't want to be having Lebanon as part of the agreement. So the Israeli will try to make confusion their hard, and that might unfortunately lead to further or more strong attacks on Lebanon and Gaza, actually, to be very specific. So let's hope it will not happen that way.
Yes, Dr. Yasser Tantawy, the international relations expert. We sure do hope the region finally settles in peace and no longer more conflicts around the region, with the Egyptian leadership working extensively throughout the past months to bring dialogue back on the table. We are now seeing a final agreement coming together, hopefully tomorrow, and we live throughout a peaceful region. Thank you very much, Dr. Yasser Tantawy, for being with us on Nile TV International, and thank you everyone for watching this special edition.